Recently, I've been banging on about trying new things and trying to improve different techniques. So today, I'm going to put my paintbrush where my mouth is as I try to improve my OSL technique. I'll catch you after this. Pickle jar, miniatures, excellent! Hello and welcome to the Pickle Jar. My name's Josh and in today's video we're going to be adding a little bit of OSL to this fantastic little boglin from Warp Lock Miniatures. Now some of you might be asking, what exactly is OSL? Now OSL stands for Object Source Lighting, and basically it means painting up a part of a model to look like it's either giving off light or to look like it's being lit by something else within the model or off of the base. This can help to give your models a little bit of extra interest and help to place them within an environment on a base or within a diorama. Now I've dabbled in OSL before and some attempts have definitely been more successful than others. I found that I can usually make the subtle stuff work, whereas the super bright and in your face stuff has always been a little bit more challenging. So when my community said they wanted to work on improving their OSL attempts, I was all for it. Today I'll be working on this little boglin from the recent Warp Lock Miniatures Kickstarter. He has this fun totem staff and I've left the spirit flame unpainted so that we can work on this today. The Kickstarter has now finished, but I'll leave a link to the Warp Lock website down in the description if you want to check them out, because they do make some absolutely gorgeous miniatures. So to start with, I need to get the spirit flame painted up. Now I'm going to be using a nice bright blue highlighting up to a white. Now before I started, I had thought about adding in a sort of bluey green shade once the base coat was down, but I actually decided against this in the end. So I started out with Sotek green from Citadel. As well as showing the different paints on screen as I move between each step, I'll also put a list of all the products down below in the description, and don't forget, if you do want to pick any of them up, to check out the Element Games link down in the description as well. Now I thinned this colour down just using water and applied it to the flame. I did this in 2 thinner coats to make sure that I had a nice even covering without taking away any of the detail by putting it on too thick. I did use an older brush for this, as I like to get the base coat on nice and quick before switching up to one of my broken toed brushes for the detail later on. Once I had this on and dry, I moved on to Lothern blue. Again, I thinned this down and painted over the flame again, leaving only the recessed areas in the base colour. When you're doing stuff like this, it's always best to thin your paints down and apply your layers in a few thin layers, building up the colour so that you don't overdo it all too much in one go. Once that layer was on, I added in a bit of Ulthuan grey to brighten up the blue even more, and once again applied this, focusing even further up on the details. At this point, I was fairly happy with the flame itself, so I decided to move on to adding in some of the glow around it on the totem pole. For this, I needed to really thin down my main colour, the Lothern blue. I needed this to be at a glaze consistency, which means very, very thin. Once I had this thinned down enough, I started to apply this to the staff around the flame. I made sure to do my brush strokes towards the flame, as where my brush leaves the model is where the paint will gather and be the most vibrant. This step can be a little tedious, as it's difficult to see any progress until you've applied a few layers. It's just a slow process, adding layers over the top of each other, moving closer and closer to the flame, so that the closer I paint, the more intense the glow is, and the further away, the fainter it is. It's also important to think about where to add these layers. To give it the right effect, it's important to look at where the object that's casting the light is, and then look at where that light would hit. Don't apply any of this glowing to the shadowed areas that it wouldn't reach, because that just wouldn't make sense. Now, depending on how bright you want this to be, depends on how far out you will need to paint for the OSL. For this model, I'm just focusing it to the top of the staff and a little bit down the handle. Now you can do all sorts of things with this, painting an entire model as though it's being lit from a certain direction, but this does get a little bit tricky because it means you need to add in extra shadows where the light doesn't hit. Now for this guy, we're keeping it simple, just up to the top of the staff. Once I was happy with the glow, I took a spot of Ulthuan grey and added in some small edge highlights and extra detail, followed by some very final spots using white scar. These just added that little bit of extra detail to help finish off the effect. With everything on and dry, I'm calling this little guy done. Now, I know it's not the most perfectly amazing smooth job ever, but it definitely gives the desired effect. The top of that staff does look like it's been lit up by the eyes and the flame, and that's what's important. OSL is one of those techniques that's different on every model and with every colour you use. It takes a bit of practice, and I am by no means an expert, but I'm happy enough with what I can do, and I'm looking forward to continue to improve in the future. Are you going to have a go at doing some OSL on your own miniatures? If you are, let me know down below in the comments. I hope you've enjoyed the video and found it useful. If you have, be sure to leave us a like down below. If you want to help support the channel, we have our affiliate links down below in the description, as well as a link to our channel sponsor, Broken Toad. If you'd like to get involved in our community, I live stream here on the Pickle Jar every Wednesday evening at 8 PM, or you can go ahead and join us on our Discord server where I can be found most of the time. Finally, I'd like to say a huge thank you to our channel members. Pretzel, Frost and Fist, Andy Allen, Chaotic Painting, The Immersive World Crafter, The Hobby Corner, Caring Commissar and Ybird. You guys are helping us continue to do what we do, and I am massively grateful. If you'd like to join them and become a member yourself, be sure to check out the link down below in the description. That's all from me, and I'll see you next week with another video.